My name is Jonathan Gorecki.
And I'm Paul Gotch.
Together, we are going to debunk the myth that the Creedence Clearwater Revival song, Fortunate Son, was written about Al Gore Jr. and his lack of involvement in the Vietnam War.
Written by lead singer and lead guitarist John Fogerty.
We will raise awareness of its underlying reasoning, source, and prove that its context is false information. This myth we have chosen has been claimed to be inspired from Al Gore Jr.
In our opinion, we believe that this is false information, and research of its origins reveals a much more interesting truth, that more creativity and different ideas were used than described in this statement.
Quoting John Fogerty himself from Snopes.com, we discovered that he has depicted an angry, anti-privileged, anti-hypocrisy condemnation of those who would wield their wealth and influence while paying lip service to freedom and patriotism.
This quote is revealing his opinion of government and military actions, saying that he has no appreciation for fake, unreliable leaders. The song speaks more to the unfairness of class than war. The song was released in 1969 at the time of the Vietnam War. Many people had assumed he was referring to Al Gore Jr. avoiding military service by abusing his father's influence.
Al Gore Sr. was not a supporter of the Vietnam War. John used people of power to influence his lyrics and point out bad leadership, but Al Gore Jr. had actually done his part in the war, enlisting as an Army newspaper reporter.
As we can see so far, this song is not in fact about Al Gore Jr. and his service or lack of in the Vietnam War. The song is about the Vietnam War, and more specifically speaks towards the class disparities in who was going to war, who wasn't, and why. In particular, Pitchfork.com has Fogerty quoted as saying, "It was so obvious during Nixon's time that the children of privilege, the senator's son, the president's son, if he had had one, or at least the president's daughter's boyfriend, they weren't going to war."
Fogerty also stated in an earlier Rolling Stone interview, "It made me so angry that the rich old men make the war and the poor young men have to fight it," which does include Al Gore Jr. by association, but also includes the likes of George W. Bush, David Eisenhower, and other political figures' sons. Fogerty in fact stated that the song's inspiration came from his disgust over the David Eisenhower and the Julie Nixon's fancy wedding. Quote, "You just had the feeling that none of these people were going to be involved with the war."
In conclusion, this evidence sufficiently debunks the myth that John Fogerty wrote this song, Fortunate Son, about Al Gore Jr. After reading two respected music news magazine interviews, it's clear he wrote this about his disgust over Julie Nixon and David Eisenhower's fancy wedding, his feeling that none of them would be very involved in the Vietnam War, and his general perception of the class inequities between the rich and poor's respective involvements.
Thank you for watching.